Hello, this is Catherine, as I know I need to stop talking. Hello, lovelies. Oh, it's bloody hot, isn't it? I mean, you knew I was going to say this, right? It's unfortunate, probably, if you're listening to this podcast later in the week when I understand it's going to rain. But today is Sunday, the 13th of June, and it's fucking hot. I am not at one with the heat. I wish I was somebody who was. I'm perpetually cold for 99% of the year, and then we reach the hotter months, and yeah, I think it's partly caused by the fact that my skin is basically the colour of mayonnaise. Mayonnaise, I don't know where that came. That's not very flattering analogy, isn't it? Her skin glowed brightly like mayonnaise, but that is basically the colour of my skin. It's a whiter shade of pale. That song was probably written about me, and I don't tan. I don't tan as well, which is, as a kid, and particularly as a teenager, all my friends had lovely golden tans, and I was convinced I just wasn't doing it right. So I tried to stay in the sun, and now with my constant barraging my children to put the bloody sun cream on, I am horrified that I allowed myself to go outside and lie in the sun without protection. But I was convinced if I just stayed in the sun long enough, my skin would go brown. And eventually I realised the only way that was going to happen was with copious applications of fake tan. I am white or I am red, and there is no in between. As an aside on sun cream, for anybody who didn't see it on the blog this morning, I mean, God love Jamie, but sometimes I do wonder. So obviously, as every parent knows, trying to get your children to apply sun cream in the morning, it's like teeth, hair, shoes is not enough. Now you're like, teeth, hair, shoes, sun cream. Put the sun cream on your face, all of your face, and your neck. Have you done your ears? What about your arms? And it's a constant refrain. And I thought that I'd maybe made my life a bit easier by going and getting one of those aerosol sprays you can get, which they're dead easy. You just spray it on and it's kind of done. But Jamie then had the last laugh, and I was like, right, put your sun cream on, kids. And I threw them the sun cream, and I turned around and I could hear the spraying of the sun cream behind me. And so I finished getting ready. I said, right, come then, off we go. Well done for doing your sun cream. And Beth looked at me like I was an idiot and went, Jamie hasn't done his sun cream. I said, I heard the spray going. She said, yeah, he just made a shh, shh noise with his mouth. And Jamie looked at me and said, yeah, I did do that. I mean, fucking hell, why is it so hard? Why is it so difficult? But yes, it is very, very hot, and as all good British people do, I reserve my right to talk constantly about the weather. We have our pool out in the garden, which obviously, law of paddling pools, you use it once and then it pisses it down with rain. Going to have a barbecue, because who isn't having a barbecue today? I mean, we're supposed to have a roast dinner, but it's ridiculous weather for a roast dinner, so we're going to have a barbecue, making fire. That's very exciting, isn't it? I love a bit of making fire. I'm a bit tired because I'm sure, like pretty much everybody out there who doesn't do well in the heat, that age-old nighttime dilemma of, I mean, I cannot sleep without a duvet on top of me. It's like some kind of conditioning. I don't know, it's really weird. And I mean, it wasn't boiling last night. A few years ago, we actually had ceiling fans installed in a couple of the bedrooms upstairs. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. Because we've got a new build house. It's often quite warm at night. I was like, it's going to be amazing. I'm going to sleep so comfortably from now on. And then we discovered within about 30 seconds of having them installed that Mr. I know I need to stop talking, can't sleep with the background noise of a ceiling fan going on. So I might have to send him to sleep in the garden and put the ceiling fans on. But yeah, I have to sleep with a duvet on me because of the monsters. And from writing about this online this morning, it seems I'm not alone in my fear of the monsters. Like, you have to be under the duvet or the monsters will come. I know I'm nearly 40. I know I should know that monsters aren't real. But what if they are? Who wants to be the first person to take that risk? Not me. So you either have to sleep under the duvet and sweat profusely, or you have to sleep outside of the duvet and the monsters will come. Well, I mean, it's like a no-brainer, right? So I'm waking up this morning, sweat cascading off me. But haha, the monsters didn't get me, which that's proof positive, that is, that the monsters didn't come. But I really liked, somebody posted this morning to say that they always have to have their bottom covered, very specifically their bottom covered by the duvet. So they make kind of like a triangle shape, the duvet. It's like duvet origami, isn't it? There's probably a market for this kind of thing. Or different shaped duvets. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go to Dragon's Den. This is amazing. It's a moment of genius. Different shaped duvets with like holes in, so that if you're someone who has to have like one leg out, well, no more folding duvets up. You could just have a duvet with a big gap in for your leg. I'm fucking genius. You heard it here, right? We'll share the profits, guys. It's going to be amazing. Right, okay, so that's this afternoon. So I'm going to write my pitch to Dragon's Den for oddly shaped duvet with holes in for the hot months. I'll think of a catchier name. I'll work on that. Obviously, every time it gets hot, anybody over the age of 50 has to start banging on about the fucking summer of 1976. I wasn't alive then, but I feel like I fucking lived through it. No, I'm joking. If you were alive in the summer of 1976, I actually really enjoy hearing everybody's stories of what life was like back then. But it does make me laugh a lot because you literally cannot mention the hot weather without somebody telling me about the great ladybug plague of 1976. Standpipes. I don't even know what a standpipe is. And I also think, no offence, class of 76, I also think there is a slight tendency for hyperbole and sort of apocryphal stories that have become over-exaggerated in time. So perhaps at the time what happened is somebody dropped an egg on the pavement and hey, it fried because the pavement was so hot. Over time, I feel these yarns have become like folk tales. So I'm now hearing about people who are like, we didn't wear any clothes ever in the summer of 1976 and we cooked our roast dinner on the pavement. Okay, cool. Of course you did. But yeah, it does make me laugh. The summer of 76. I mean, I can remember hot summers from when I was young. Obviously nothing on the scale of the great summer of 76. But I can remember hot summers. I remember lots of hosepipe bands. Are hosepipe bands still a thing? Or do people just not use hosepipes as much anymore? I remember being in real genuine fear. I was quite a panicky child, which would explain this real hysterical fear. But I remember feeling genuinely quite panicked that someone was going to come and get us. And I don't know whether this was an actual thing or whether a little bit like my dad telling me that insect days were called insect days, whether this was something my parents made up to scare me, which, let's be honest, is part of the fun of having small children, right? But I can remember being very afraid of the hosepipe ban helicopters, which possibly didn't exist, but I completely and utterly believed that were we so foolish as to go into the back garden and unleash our hosepipe, immediately overhead the hosepipe ban police would rock up into sight and I don't know, like send down lasers to like stop the hosepipe, scorch the house to the ground. I don't know what. I hadn't really thought through what was going to happen if they spotted us, but yeah, I remember being very, very frightened about the concept of the hosepipe ban helicopters, to the point that even now when I get my hosepipe out, I'm a little bit scared. Is it just me? Is there any other kids of like, you know, sort of the 1980s who have a similar fear? And do we still have hosepipe bans? Maybe we do. I don't know. I also remember we were being asked at school, it was another hot summer, being asked at school how to save water. And lots of people said, like, the obvious, like, turn off the tap while you're brushing your teeth. Well, duh, everybody knows that, obvious. And I came up with, must have been about 8 or 9, I came up with what I thought was an absolutely brilliant idea. And I put my hand right in the air, couldn't wait to tell the teacher. And she said, Catherine, what's your idea? And I said, what saves loads of water is if you and somebody else that you live with shares a bath. Now, I thought this was very practical because me and my little sister, we often shared a bath. Either we'd go in top and tail at the same time or we'd go in one after the other. That saved a whole bath's worth of water. I mean, that was surely an idea worth saving. She reacted like I'd suggested a swingers party. So I don't know whether it was in my delivery or I missed something, but I was like, yeah, we could share a bath. And I can still remember, it's one of my really visceral school memories. I can remember her going, oh no, I couldn't imagine doing that, which I suppose, looking at it from an adult's point of view, I can see that perhaps you wouldn't just like want to rock up to next door and go, hey, I'm going to have a bath. Do you want to share? But as a little kid, I stand by it. That is a very good way to share water, is to share baths. That will save a lot of water. But yeah, horrified my teachers. Talking of paddling pools, one of my most horrendous summer memories, which I'm still, along with hosepipes, also a little bit scared of paddling pools. There's a theme, isn't there? So paddling pools have changed, right? In my youth, a paddling pool was like a metre diameter. I think you must have inflated it because that must have been how it set up. And you filled it, like one bucket of water is like full. Paddle in it. I mean, you could the water barely covered your feet, but still, you know, much excitement for small children when the paddling pool came out. And I remember one such afternoon, and my parents had got out the paddling pool, unfolded it from wherever it had been kept, and were about to fill it. As I've chronicled on here before, I really don't like slugs, and I'm not a big fan of snails either. And it was to my horror that as the paddling pool was unfolded, on the inside was probably mildly pissed off because it was having a nice sleep or maybe a hibernation. Do snails hibernate? I don't know. Well, if they do, maybe this one was doing exactly that. Snail on the inside lining of the paddling pool. I remember screaming and running down the garden. I don't know what I thought the snail was going to do to me. It would have been the slowest race to the death ever, but ever since then, always a little bit discomforted by paddling pools. And my kids really irritatingly have picked up on my fear of slugs, not to the extent, because I'm very conscious you don't want to pass your fear onto your children, so neither of them are bothered by slugs in the slightest, But a little bit like my dad, remember when I told you the wheelie bin story about my dad going, come and see this, Catherine, and me being like, is it a slug? Suspicious, you see. Him going, no, 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 no. So trusting my daddy, I went round, it was 2 fucking massive snails. My kids have learnt to do similar. So Beth, when we were getting out our pool the other day, called me over and went, Mum, come and see this, it's amazing, you'll love it. I looked down, it was a slug. Yeah, so you know, that love that my children feel for me, that respect of my fears, I mean, it's just great to see. We used to go over quite a lot in the summer as a family to Calais on the ferry. Did anybody else do this? There was at the time, the Sun ran a promotion where basically if you collected enough tokens, you could get the ferry to Calais for only £1, the car ferry, which even back in like the 1990s, that was just a good deal, right? I mean, I think it did hurt my mum's soul as a die-hard Telegraph reader to have to go. I'm fairly certain she wouldn't have been the one to go to the shop to buy the Sun. I'm fairly certain she would have sent my dad. But nevertheless, we dutifully collected the tokens. Now, the only downside of the Sun's promotion was that you had to go midweek. That was why it was so cheap. You had to go over midweek. And obviously myself and my sister were at school, and so we went with another family, and their kids were sort of similar ages to us. And so I'm fairly certain that my mum obviously needed to get permission for us to go to France. So she would write to the school, and, you know, school were pretty good. And she was saying, you know, it's a great opportunity for them, educational trip to Calais, you know, speak the French language because we were learning French, etc., etc. And to be fair to the school, they said, fine, no problem. I think things were a little bit more relaxed back then, but they said, fine. Unfortunately for my mum and dad, it was all slightly ruined when me and my sister came racing around. We had a brilliant time. We went over on the ferry, we played on the beach, we went to the supermarkets, we bought random stuff that we probably didn't even want, but it was exciting because it was French. And then we came back over late at night on the ferry. I can remember coming back late at night and thinking, this is so exciting. And then we'd go into school next day and the teacher would go, oh, did you have a good day in France? And we'd be like, and I can remember saying this exact phrase. I was like, yeah, it was brilliant. We went on a booze cruise. And I just, without any real understanding of the implication of those words. So I don't know if my mum and dad were ever hauled up to ask quite how educational the booze cruise could be. I always have really fond memories of myself and my sister Helen being literally, because I think back then, I mean, I assume it was obviously much cheaper to go across to France and get booze, hence the booze cruise. And I can remember me and my sister being in the back of the car, my dad literally building us in with crates of beer and wine all around us. Oh, happy days, happy days. Love a booze cruise. I mean, to be fair, my sister and I spent lots of our summer holidays. We spent hours in the back of the car because one of the things my parents used to like to do, which I now look back as a parent and go, what the fuck, why? Why would you put yourself through this? So you've got two, I don't know, we would have been probably primary school. So maybe I was like 11 and Helen was 9. As I've documented here before, and Helen, if you're listening, I love you dearly, but I think it's both of us would acknowledge we have a somewhat tempestuous relationship, which is never more apparent than when the two of us are stuck in the back of the car for 6 hours at a time while we jet across France. So I don't quite know why you would do that, but yeah, me and Helen have lost our shit with one another in pretty much every region of France there is to know. Hours of driving through fields and fields of sunflowers whilst completely losing our shit. But when we weren't fighting and attempting to bash the hell out of one another, and we used to build, anybody else with siblings used to build like a barricade down the middle of the car, we had an armrest. My dad had a company car, we thought we were very grand, we had an armrest. And we had a rule, oh my God, I've just remembered this. Helen, if you're listening, do you remember this? We had a rule with the armrest that we literally had a middle point, and your arm was not allowed to cross the middle point of the armrest, or you were on the other person's side. But when we weren't rowing, that probably was my very first foray into podcasting, because one of the ways we used to keep ourselves entertained when we weren't bashing the shit out of one another. Did anybody else, and it's probably my childhood classic toy, did anybody else have a Fisher-Price brown tape recorder? Do you know the one? You know the one that I mean? It's kind of like a stand-up one with a handle on the top. It has, slot for tape to go in. You could both listen to tapes, but the genius, I think, was cutting edge. It was ahead of its time. You could record. So I have got, in fact, I need to try and find a way of getting it converted and listening to how fucking abysmal my first forays into podcasting are. Because God, if you think this is bad, I think this probably has nothing on 11-year-old me in France. And yeah, we used to just record, well, I say we. I used to record hours and hours of tape, which occasionally I think I'd let Helen say like one thing on it, and then I'd be like, okay, Helen, that's enough. Don't outstay your welcome. So yeah, that was my very first foray into recording. But yeah, God knows what my mum and dad were thinking driving through France with 2 fractious children in the back seat. I mean, God. make your lives easier, loves. Go to Butlins. It's surely less hard work. Other summer memories. I sat on a bee. I don't have a good track record, actually, with bees. Two particular bee memories come to mind. This particular incident, I'd gone to the park with my mates, and we were at that age where, like, we're having a really good time, but also you want to look really cool in front of your mates, and you don't want to do anything stupid like sit on a bee. I sat on a bee, and it really, really, really hurt. I mean, I'm sure it hurt more for the bee in hindsight. And I completely tried to play it cool. And if you've ever seen a stroppy teenager trying to play it cool with a bee sting hanging out of her ass, you ain't lived. So yeah, that was an annoying summer memory. But that wasn't as annoying as the one that came to mind the other day. I was at children's party, so as an adult, so this was quite recently. So already the day's bad enough, right? But it was a children's party. It was outdoors. Children's parties are automatically less hellish when they're outdoors. And it was, one of the mums her parents had a lovely, huge, great big garden. She'd invited all the class round. I think there was a bouncy castle, and it was lovely. And so I went along, and she'd even served up Pimm's, and I was like, well, this is probably the best children's party I'd ever been to. And then a bee flew towards me. Now, I like bees, despite the sitting on bee and bottom incident. I quite like bees. And so I kind of just gently, as you do, you just gently waft away. Now, you know, I've told you before, I've got a terrible sense of direction. That also seems to apply to the direction that I waft my hand in. So instead of, what should have happened in this scenario, the bee should have flown over, I should have said, hi bee, I should have gently flapped my hand, the bee should have flown away on the breeze, found a nice flower to settle in, all would have been well. What I managed to do was fucking smack the bee into my fringe, which is a fuck up of such colossal undertaking. I don't really know where to start. So the bee did not fly neatly away because some mad woman had just slammed it into the middle of a fringe. It then got stuck in my fringe. So you've got this bee tangled up in my fringe. You've got me flailing around trying to get the bee out of my fringe. It's probably not unreasonable for the bee at that point to have gone, fuck this shit, I'm going to kill myself to get out of this, and it stung me. So I had a half-dead bee in my fringe and a sting in my forehead, and thank God one of the mothers had the most beautifully manicured nails. I don't know what she'd got such a lovely manicure for. I can't imagine it was for the purposes of plucking a bee sting out of another mother's forehead, but that's what she did, and she saved the day. Again, really fucking hurts, and actually, if you're making some life choices and thinking, when I get stung by a bee, do I want it to be on my bottom or on my forehead? Bottom. Go for bottom every time. Much more padding. Forehead. And then my forehead started to swell up. And there's a character, I think it's in Star Trek. I basically got home and related to Mr. I Know I Need to Stop Talking what had happened. And he said, let's have a look. And I pulled back my fringe. And he was like, bloody hell, and there's basically some alien life form in Star Trek with a massive fucking forehead. That was me. I had the world's biggest forehead. So, yeah, a bit of a checkered relationship with bees. I do really like them, unless they land on my arse or in my fringe. That was extremely, extremely painful. Happy memories of summer drinking, particularly as a teenager. The first time I got properly drunk, I was quite a late bloomer when it came to alcohol, making up for lost time, insert your own bad jokes there. But I went to, after we'd finished our GCSEs, it would have been, summer 98, and a friend had a house party. Their parents had got out, probably accepting the inevitable, and so we all piled round, all out in their back garden. And I'd had a couple of goes at having a drink previously in a pub. And, of course, the really important difference between pub drinking and home drinking is measures, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, you can obviously measure your alcohol at home, and you should do it, and that's a very responsible and very sensible thing to do. But we were teenagers, so as fucking if. So I'd been to the pub, and I can remember the first time I ever went to the pub and drunk alcohol, underage, and you should not do that, and underage drinking is bad and wrong, but also my entire generation was doing it. So if you're in charge of underage drinking, I'm really sorry, I definitely won't do it again, but everybody did. Okay, that's my defence out the way. And I remember I had 2 double vodkas and lemonade. Vodka and lemonade, that was my drink. A little bit later, I think I mixed it up, vodka, lime and lemonade. I knew how to live. So I drank my 2 double vodka, limes and lemonade, and I've got photos somewhere of me lying on the floor giggling, because that was all it took in those heady, virginistic days of never having drunk before. And so I naively assumed at this party, I was like, okay, well, you know, I was a bit tipsy, but it was quite good fun and it was all good. And that was the equivalent of 4 drinks, because I knew a unit was 1 drink. So I was like, okay, well, I can have 4 drinks of vodka and lemonade. Let's just say that 4 home measures of vodka lemonade are very different to 4 pub measures. I mean, I can still remember getting home. Oh my God, I was off my tits. I remember just like, yeah, my parents must have had a right laugh at me. I sort of reeled into the house. My mum was like, "You all right?" I know, yeah, it's really hot out there, isn't it? Like, I can remember just like collapsing in this chair and thinking, oh, it's a bit much really, isn't it? And then I think I must have gone to bed and collapsed and passed out. And of course, with that teenage annoying ability to just like breeze off a hangover, I was up and right as rain the next morning. I mean, now that'd be like a week in bed, wouldn't it? I mean, God, 40's hurtling very closely towards me, and I just think hangovers, they're not worth it anymore, are they? I say this now, I'm going to go and have a barbecue and probably feel rubbish tomorrow because I'll have drunk wine in the sunshine. But, you know, I like to know that at least there's a little sensible voice in me that knows the right thing to do, even if actual me will be like, yeah, whatever. One of the nice things with the kids being a bit older now is you don't have to have such an obsessive interest in, and I must have read something in a book or maybe in an NCT class, but I remember being obsessive over the temperature of the room my baby was in, particularly if my baby was going to have a sleep. Oh my God. Now, I had some of my friends who'd done NCT classes with me, and they bought one of the Gro Eggs. Does anybody remember Gro Eggs? These magical, mystical, colourful, probably still exist actually. They were out of my budget. I did not have a Gro Egg. I coveted Gro Eggs, but basically I think they went like a nice melodic green, nice and relaxed for most of the time, unless the temperature exceeded, I don't know, 22, 23, whatever it was, at which point the Gro Egg would be like flashing this like emergency, red, it's too hot. Well, that's fine, Mr. Gro Egg. That is fine if you are in a position where you can open windows, put a fan on, you know, take your baby to a different room. But when the fucking world is hot because the sun is hot and it's shining on us, what the fuck am I supposed to do, Mr. Gro Egg? So I remember being obsessive. I think I had the temperature on a clock. Probably wasn't even fucking accurate. I remember being like, oh my God, should he have less clothes on? But then he'll be too cold. He might freeze. And God, the amount of headspace I spent. But I think that's normal as a new parent, right? You just find stuff to worry about. And I spent more time than I can imagine thinking about temperatures of rooms. And now, like, I look at my kids, and Beth went to bed in a Christmas jumper last night, and I was like, looks fine. Sometimes it's just easier, isn't it? It's fine. It's Beth. Just go to bed. I think you'll be too hot. I won't. Okay. And to be fair, she wasn't too hot. My obviously Gro Eggs, a modern invention. Back in the day, my dad was born in the summer, and one of our favourite family stories is how when he was first born, my nana used to take him out in a pram, and she'd cover the pram, obviously an old-fashioned style pram, she'd cover the pram with like a blanket over the top. And everybody would be like, oh, you know, you must be doing it to keep the sun off him. What a great mother. And my nana, who still maintains this to this day, was like, no, I've done it because he's really ugly and you don't want to see him. And I'm like, Nana, you can't say that. And she's like, what? It was the truth. So my poor dad, too ugly to be shown off to the neighbourhood, had to be covered with a blanket. Yeah. There's nothing like the honest truth from parents. Nothing like the honest truth. We used to, when we weren't driving around France and me and Helen bashing the hell out of each other, we used to go to Norfolk a lot on holiday. Crabbing. Oh, it's like the best activity. It really upsets me now when we go on holiday. We usually just go to somewhere in the UK on the coast, and I just assumed that my children would find crabbing as interesting, as fascinating as I do. It's very disappointing, although I have got a great picture of they give it a go. They're like, Mum wants to do crabbing, so we'll do crabbing. I've got the most amazing picture of Beth a couple of years ago, and we caught some crabs, and Beth was quite scared of the crabs, and me and Jamie were holding the crabs very gently and then obviously releasing them back into the water. And Beth was like, I really want to hold a crab, but I'm really scared of crabs. And I was like, well, you don't have to. It's fine. There's no pressure. You can do it next year. It's not a rush to do it. And so eventually she was like, no, I really want to hold a really little one. And we found one of the really little ones, you know, where they're still white, where their shell's still forming. She's like, right, I can do it. And so I've got the most amazing photograph of Beth holding this crab, simultaneously looking so proud of herself and like she's going to shit herself because she's so scared. It is a glorious, glorious, glorious picture. I got a bit overconfident though with crabbing when I was younger, because we used to do it all the time. And I can remember once being on a Norfolk beach and seeing this crab come towards us. And I like pride. I used to want to be a vet, a singing vet, which would have been amazing, like Dr. Dolittle on crack or something. And this crab sort of sidled. Of course it did. It's a crab. Bada boom. I'm here all week. Oh, the heat's got to me already, clearly. This crab came up towards us, and I was showing off to my friends. And I was like, oh, crabs. I know all about crabs. I know how to handle crabs. I'm going to be a vet one day. Don't you know? Just throw that into the conversation. I shall pick up the crab and show you how well I can handle crabs. I literally don't know, A, why I thought I had crab husbandry skills, or why I thought anybody would be even vaguely interested in my crab husbandry skills. But nevertheless, got the crab, picked up the crab, like held the crab, showed the crab. The crab was probably like, fuck this shit. It had much larger pincers than I had anticipated, and so it was. It got its pincers, and, you know, not unreasonably, because it didn't want to be picked up, properly pinched down on my thumb, and I can still remember the pain. And for all of my crab husbandry skills that I thought that I had, there were no crab husbandry skills that I had that enabled me to know how the fuck to get a really angry crab off your finger. So to be fair, we were with the same family that we went on the infamous booze cruises to France. So the dad, Rob, thank you Rob, you were a hero, came over and said, don't worry, I'm going to get it. So he managed to get the crab off me. The crab was like, brilliant, this is an even bigger thumb to get into, and I've got visions of Rob just hopping around this deserted Norfolk beach while this crab just, I mean, honestly, the state of us. So yes, my crab husbandry skills, it turns out, are not all that. I have another lovely memory of being in Norfolk. So one year when we were a little bit older, I think I was 16 and Helen was 14, we were allowed to bring a friend each to the cottage we were staying in Norfolk. So we were terribly excited. So I bought my best friend Rachel, and Helen bought her best friend Bev. And our parents kind of said one evening, well, I'll tell you what, it'd be nice if you guys cook. So why don't Catherine and Rachel, why don't you cook one night, and Helen and Bev, you cook one night. So we said, yeah, fine, no problem. So me and Rach, we cooked on the first night. I can't remember what we cooked, but I think it wasn't a disaster, and I think everybody ate it, and it was fine, and we had a lot of fun, and yeah, it was cool. And then the next night, it was like Gordon Ramsay had invaded the kitchen. So Helen and Bev, I can't even remember what they were making, but whatever it was, it clearly wasn't going to plan. So my dad kept going to check on them, and then kept coming out, killing himself laughing. He was like, they're not having a very good time of it. So clearly the meal had not gone to plan. I think it was very nice when we ate it, but they both came out the kitchen, stormed across the lawn, and sat at opposite ends of the table, not speaking to each other. We were killing ourselves laughing. But it was a lovely meal. And hopefully, a glorious, happy memory, Helen and Bev, and perhaps why the two of you shouldn't attempt Bake Off as a duo, because I'm not sure it went then. And then, of course, the less sunny holidays in Norfolk. Norfolk's well known for its mud flats. So when my mum brought, this is a classic memory. So my mum had taken me clothes shopping, and I found an outfit that I loved. And the moment I tell you about this outfit, you're going to know where the story's going. And my mum was like, Catherine, you're not the tidiest of children. I'm not sure this is wise. And I was like, Mummy, I love it. Please let me get it. I promise I'll look after it. The outfit consisted of white leggings, possibly cream. In fact, they might have been the colour of mayonnaise, just like my face, but very white cream leggings and a white cream top with little pale pink roses all over. I can still remember the outfit that I wore once. Again, you'll know where this is going. And so I was like, thank you, Mummy, thank you so much. I promise I'll look after it. So my mum had to work it must have been like a half term. My mum had to work on the Friday. So it was agreed that my dad was going to take me and Helena up to Norfolk ahead of my mum. She'd follow separately in her car. So we drove up to Norfolk that night. Memorable because I was map reading. I can remember this really well. I was map reading. And I was sat in the front. My dad was like, okay, so which junction do I need to come off? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, okay, well, which road are we on currently? I don't know. Okay, so which road were we on previously, Catherine? I said, I don't know. I looked at him like he was an idiot. How would I know? He's like, you're holding the bloody map. Well, yeah, that minor detail. Anyway, somehow we got to Norfolk. And the next day, it was planned that we were going to go to the mud flats, which is just one great big expanse of muddy beach, basically. It's glorious for children. And I love my dad, but sometimes his common sense is probably on a par with my own, because when I got dressed that morning, wearing my beautiful new cream outfit, my dad deemed that a perfectly suitable attire to go to the mud flats in. And so I put on my clothes, we went to the mud flats, and I've got a couple of photos from later that day, which just, if it was once cream, it's suffice to say that nobody would ever have known. And I believe words were possibly had with both me and my dad when my mum arrived the next day and was like, what the fuck have you two been up to? Yeah, so my advice if you're going to the mud flats in Norfolk, very beautiful. Don't wear cream. Not advised. But I hope wherever you are that you get to enjoy some sunshine. Let's be honest, if you're not in the UK, you'll probably be laughing your heads off at me describing a 24-degree summer's day as hot as you grapple with temperatures in the 30s and even 40s. But, you know, it's rained here since bloody January. Let us have our minor excitement. We've got probably 2 days and that's it. That's summer done. We have to make the most of it. And I am off to watch England lose miserably. And I know at the time of recording this, they haven't played yet, but I've been an England fan for a very, very, very long time. And sometimes you don't even need to watch a game to know what the outcome's likely to be. But I'm sure it will be great fun. I mean, goodness me. Being an England supporter, it's a lifetime of disappointment and misery, and that's why we love it, really, the beautiful, beautiful game of football. But yes, enjoy your sunshine, enjoy your barbecues, put your sun cream on, don't do a fake spray, it won't work, and your parents, however old you are going to catch them out. Enjoy your barbecues, enjoy making fire. I hope you're with the people you love, I hope you're doing something lovely, and I will see you all next week when pretty certain it'll be pissing down with rain again. Take care, loves, lots of love, bye-bye.